wọ̀kúwọ̀kú lọ́rọ̀rùn pẹ̀sẹ̀ láti kéde nílé akéde tọ̀yọ́ ni ó nílò kó o ṣẹ̀mọ́ dára rẹ̀ láàmú sọ pé òun wọkọ̀ bọ̀ wá sílé akéde lóríta Basọ̀rún nílùú Ìbàdàn mọ́ pàápàá jùlọ láti ṣe kéde polówó ọjà yẹn tàbí fi ń tọ́tọ́ tó sì yẹ tó àwọn aráàlú létí bóyá nípa àpàdé nípa àsọjí àbí nǹkan kan àbómi ìtẹ́balẹ̀ fẹ́ ṣe ẹ torí agbágbé àgbáyé kẹ́ẹ̀nà tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe hàn wá 09158703300 lórí agbágbé kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ WhatsApp nọ́mbà ẹ̀kan náà mọ̀ ní ọ̀rọ̀rùn pẹ̀sẹ̀ stress-free courtesy BCOS. You don't have to stress yourself coming down to Ilé Akéde Oríta Basọ̀rún Ìbàdàn again to make that announcement or place that advert. Book online, personal paid announcements, obituaries, or in memoriam, annual conventions, workshops, crusades, social diaries, inter-house sport competitions, musical shows or concerts, and other promotions. Very simple. Go online to book for transmission on BCOS radio channels or BCOS TV, or simply call 091 5870 3300 or WhatsApp on the same number 091 5870 3300. BCOS, a media giant in a class of its own.
Good morning and thank you very much for joining us on the Friday edition of AM120, right here on the Broadcasting Corporation for your state television channel. I am Victor Opune, and of course, we have plenty to unpack this very beautiful day. Well, we'll be starting with the newspaper review, as usual. I have the Nigerian Tribune to start with right here with me. And going on to the front page, where we have a lot of stories. ICPC uncovers 2 more fake agencies in PFIPC probe. That's a story coming from page 5. Submits interim report, recommends ADM's prosecution, identifies collaborators in SGF office, Accountant General's office, Budget office, NITDA. Says no funds approved, appointment letter forged. And to what's up top, it's CBN saying monetary policies, structural reforms tackling inflation. That's the story you find on page 7. On page 12, NCOS CG launches crackdown at Ibarra prison, removes 3 officers over death row inmates via TikTok live stream. On page 7, Dangote refinery emerges Europe's largest jet fuel supply, overtakes the US. Security operatives rescue abducted 5 Ogun students on page 31. On page 3, NLC will begin negotiations for worker salary increase, says Ajaero. On page 27, federal government moves to strengthen anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism framework. And on page 27 again, talking about health, 4 in 10 Nigerian medical students gambled all 9. And that's according to a study. Now we have this one as well, phrasing of Osun account. Legal luminaries speak as president stops EFCC. A story that continues from page 3 and 5. Timing of anti-graft agencies' action, few days to election, inauspicious, embarrassing to me, he says. Tinubu has exposed meat of EFCC's independence. Atiku Osun sues EFCC, demands 2 billion naira damages. Quite an interesting one right there. All right, let's flip to what we have on the inside pages of the Nigerian Tribune for today. And we have more of those stories about the PFIPC, the EFCC, and Osun State. Now to page 6. Now, Nigeria spent 1.1 trillion naira on petrol in 2021, says RMAFC. Investigate MSC over empty container crisis at Lagos ports. Agents urge federal government and says importers facing financial losses. NGX has 192 billion naira as banking stocks lift market despite broad sell-off. And a betting firm unveils Amokachi as Pan-African brand ambassador. On page 7, turbine overhaul weighs on Gregu Power's revenue as half-year profit falls 88%. CBN monetary policies, structural reforms tackling inflation in Nigeria. So from spokesperson, NAMA condemns static 11,000 naira cost of navigational charges for over 18 years. Okay, on page 9, we have something from the editorial. Beyond the Nigerian Army's new divisions. On page 10, President Tinubu's Northeast Road Revolution, rebuilding hope through infrastructure renewal, and lessons for women who chase celebrity pregnancy. All of that on page 10. On page 12, Oshun Guba, Adeleke commissions Okefia flyover, calls for peaceful mass turnouts. Lagos teachers demand stronger measures around school. UNICEF urges Kano and 21 other states to adopt 6 months paid maternity leave for breastfeeding mothers. Okay. We have more stories right here. On page 13, Kwara government, Saraki supports Ilorin Islamic clerics with new vehicles. And we have on the Friday Extra on page 15, female filmmakers are now in front row taking over Nollywood, says Tayo Shobola. Of course, you might want to read up on that. Well, on page 16, Oni celebrates 2026 New Yam Festival, charges government on food security. And BB Niger season 11, 100 million naira cash prize, no longer guaranteed. That's interesting. On page 17, 25 years after a green dress change surge, the camera is becoming Africa's storefront. Of course, we have this one on page 18, talking about travel polls. With South Africa's xenophobic fires, born the dream of inter-Africa travel. And it calls for 10-year tourism roadmap, 500 billion naira development fund to revive sector. Inside Arewa on page 19, Katina, man allegedly scams band leader of 95 million naira in gun deal. 500 residents benefit from PWCDI UNFPA medical outreach in Sokoto. And community commends the Ubasani over road project. And mass wedding to become annual event in KB, says Governor Idris, while Governor Yusuf wants motorists to obey traffic lights. All that on page 20. All right, on page 21, Oshun Guba, ICPC vows to crack down on vote trading. And UK Commission, Turaki led PDP dialogue on state of democracy in Nigeria. All right, now to what we have on page 22, mandate dispute. Rocks NDC as FCT Senate candidate serves pre-action notice on INEC and party urges INEC to remain impartial. Okay, we also have this one. Kwara APC coalition rejects party candidates and does only Tinubu. Now to the vintage sports page, where we have this one coming from Arokodari. Says, I was shocked at Ajax. Wafon Babajide dedicates victory to Nigerians. FIBA Women's World Cup podium is our target, says the Tigress captain. Ongune makes history with 8 WAFCON appearances. Still on the WAFCON, Falcons battle Lionesses for World Cup ticket. Wafu B under 20, how we conquered elephants. That's coming from Maikaba. And the CAF Confederations Cup. 3SC Academy face tough tests. Joshua Fury bouts almost starting to land in the US. And of course, those stories continue through pages 24, 25. We have on page 25, 3SC will help a lot, says Kwara United coach. And Tenebe votes to relaunch Bendel Insurance. Interlagos intensified training camp in Ibadan. And then now to Old AGM in Owerri, August 21. And NPFL will soon have a social media department, says Elegbele. Still continue on the sports stories. We have this stories still pouring in, and of course, on the back page, they say meet Nigeria's medalist at Glasgow 2026. And yes, indeed, there is Rafiatu Lawa, who won gold in the women's 558 kg weightlifting. Yes, she represents Oyo State quite heavily. Now to the second newspaper that we have today, which is the Vanguard newspaper right here with us this morning as we actually transition. We have on page 21, our inmates run operations from behind bars. On page 7, 315 abducted Nigerians rescued in 24 hours. And on page 26, drugs that kill, not cure. Inside Lagos warehouse where suspected fake Viagra, Meprazole, and others are repackaged. 316 cartons, additional 2 trucks loaded with alleged fake medicine recovered. Police reject 3 million naira bribe to free suspects and exhibits. On page 5, Tinubu to the FCC, defreeze Osun accounts. State Police, we have studied Indian and American models, IGP Disu says on page 8. Adeleke is talking on page 2, we won't allow APC return Osun to dark days. And on page 9, probe, ICPC links 2 more fake agencies to ADME. State House denies requesting budget code for PFIPC. Police illegally holding me, probe me openly. Fake PFIPC digitals reps. And on page 8, Oman and Iran reach agreement to reopen Strait of Hormuz. On page 19, manufacturers' confidence rebounds despite high borrowing costs and part wars. On page 4 to 7, NSC holds Super Falcons 40 million naira after Egypt's victory. That's an interesting one. Now to what we have on the inside page, starting on page 2. Okori says Paul Idris Riaza for 2027, talking about Osun decides 2026. Uzodima disowns 8 remarks on Davido, assures of peaceful election. Ambo replies Adeleke, I will win with people's votes and not rigging. Okay, interesting ones right there. On Tech Extra, page 4, federal government charges MDAs on compulsory data localization. And the stories continue on to page 6. 13 Waro kidnap victims still missing, says a community leader. Alleged murder probe, VDM to honor police invitation. NICN orders NURTW officials to defend contempt. A court orders accelerated hearing in Dolphin Steel's assets disputes. Event planner counters POS transaction allegation. 65 years old man, 4 others arrested for kidnapping in Rivers. Okay. Now to what we have on page 8. For subsidy go up to 1.16 trillion naira in 2021, says RMAFC. Agencies, airline operators jostle for share of aviation 5% levy. And federal government targets Nigeria as for responsible advertising and digital innovation, as coming from Idris. All right, we have more interesting stories right there on page 9. Fake agency, State House denies requesting budget code for PFIPC. FRSC defense number plate allocation. It's a whole lot of agencies linked in there. All right, on page 10, Tinubu flags of construction of major roads in Osun. Sanwo-Olu unveils new Lagos healthcare roadmap. And family raises alarm over alleged encroachment. Okay, interesting stories continue on page 11. Well, the Sultan of Sokoto demands probe into alleged killing of the Igbo Muslim army officer. A Catholic bishop spoke for Nigeria and says Archbishop Onoa. And in 2027, we've devised a strategy to end vote buying in Southwest. That's coming from Kwakwanso Support Group. Ex-DSS operative docked over high-pop membership and remanded in prison. And on page 12, improved pipeline security, driving investor confidence in Delta. That's coming from Tantita. And Edo DG enrolls 4,000 residents into healthcare insurance scheme. Okay, on page 14, area of voice, Kaduna's return to fear, 30 killed by armed gangs. And on page 15, Mfwanga moves to rebuild economy, meets with investors after plateau wars. You might want to read up on what's happening on Sweet and Sour on page 16. And on page 17, infertile Infantino should exit for trying to sell the World Cup. And on business, on page 19, we have firms expect borrowing costs to decline in 3 months. Okay, on page 20, FRSC reaffirms commitment to safe transition to EV and CNG mobility. Now, there's a Vanguard weekend where we're talking about inside prisons, crime rings on page 21. How inmates run operations from behind bars. And, well, of course, Lagos warehouse where suspected fake Viagra plus orders are repackaged. Abuja's one chance menace. Criminals exploit FCT's port transport system to wreak havoc. All right, all of this run from page 21 down to page 25 and 26 as well. You might want to read on the Amata dynasty's 70-year creative legacy, talking about the likes of Fred Amata. That's on page 27. I want to also read up on the everyday kitchen utensils quietly affecting your health. All right, now we're flipping on and fast forwarding to what we have right here on page 43. Tinubu to EFCC, go to court, get order to defreeze Ocean account. That's a story that continues from page 5, as a matter of fact. On Naira Watch, Naira appreciates to 1,416 per dollar in parallel markets. And Cross River on page 45 to partner federal government on livestock production. And yes, 500 head per day abattoir to create 10,000 jobs, says Minister. Nigerian Marketing Awards unveils landmark 5th edition. And to page 47, where we have Vanguard Sports. Under 20 World Championships all start for Nigeria as sprinters, means finals in Oregon. Osimhen, Okocha miss out as Murphy makes Nigeria's top 5 league goal scorers charts. NSC holds Super Falcons 40 million naira after Egypt victory. FIFA boycott remains despite Infantino's apology, says UEFA. CAF Champions League, Rangers and Rivers ended tough preliminary round ties. CAF Confederation Cup draw, Shooting Stars land CS Faxing as El Academy gets UDIB. And we also have this one. Italian Consulates under 20 football tournament depends Nigeria. Italy titles come from Mijay. And the stories continue on to the back page where the coach says WAFCON starts now. And yes, indeed, today's matches are listed as well. You find that Bayern Munich against Aston Villa and Fulham against Crystal Palace, talking about the club friendlies. And of course, for the WAFCON results from yesterday, Cape Verde in a 1-0 draw with Cameroon and Mali in a 1-0 draw with Ghana right there. That's as much as we can take on the newspaper review segment this morning. We're going to for the weather reports and then we come back for the interview segment.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on here? Did your landlord just increase rent?
I saved for this one separately on Money Point.
No, you think save on Money Points?
Yes.
This Madam Money Points here, the array of your dread is target savings Money Points. The rest of this.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the interview segment right here this morning. This morning we inform you again, in case you missed before, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved one of the biggest salary reviews for Nigeria's armed forces in decades. Now, the new package raises military salaries by 30%, and of course, that might be up to 80% depending on the rank. With junior personnel receiving the highest percentage increase in there. The government says it is about boosting morale, rewarding sacrifice, and strengthening national security. And there are a lot of questions hanging right there. But those higher pay automatically translate into better security. Can improved welfare help Nigeria win the fight against insurgency, banditry, and kidnapping? Or are there deeper reforms still very much needed for us? That's our conversation this morning as we look at the conversation on Tinubu's 80% salary increment for armed forces. This morning, we have an economist right here with us to do justice to the conversation in Dr. Adekunle Onile. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we have the facts in front of us. Now, according to the presidency, the new salary structure takes effect on the 1st of September 2026. About 250,000 military personnel are expected to benefit. The largest increase, that's 80%, actually goes to personnel from private to staff sergeants. And personnel from the warrant officer to colonel level will receive a 50% increase, while generals and officers above the colonel will receive a 30% increase. The Armed Forces annual wage bill will rise from about 660 billion naira to 924 billion naira, which is an increase of roughly 264 billion naira right there. Now, the first question I'm going to throw, why now?
Well, better late than never. That's one. Then two, I think in Nigeria, when we are talking about government policy and government's ability to deliver, we should always be mindful of the fact that Nigeria is a work in progress. We actually have come a long way since 1960, but we still have a lot to go and a lot to learn. Part of the area that we are still lacking or lagging behind is in security. And
our armed forces, which we inherited from the colonial era, have a formation and a structure and a system built on the colonial master's administrative style. Now, where am I going with this history? I'm trying to say that the present effort to increase the salary of our armed forces is following a pattern. How? Good. You see, the military here and elsewhere in the world, their salary structure is regimented, just like their career. Then two, a lot of things goes into the military. I won't use salary now, maybe remuneration, because salary is just one. But a lot of people only think in terms of salary for the military. That is why I have the privilege of serving in the military barrack during my NYC days. And I also have the privilege up till now of knowing so many serving and retired generals. So I can tell you for sure that yes, if it is being done now, it is not miscalculated, and it is not late, and it is not early.
It's not too early.
It's not too late.
So you believe it's timely?
Very, very.
Very timely. Well, now this announcement follows months of renewed government emphasis on security. And there are some other moves. Aside, we call the numbers first, right? But now we have some other reforms also happening in there, including approval for the expansion of the Nigerian Army from 8 to 12 divisions. We also have the recruitment of 20,000 additional soldiers in the midst of that. Increased investment in military equipment and operational readiness, and continued operations against Boko Haram, bandits, and kidnappers. Now, looking at the increase, a lot of people have asked the question, why do we have an increase in the number of the divisions when it comes to the Nigerian Army now?
Well, I think it is right and it is due because, just like I said, like any organization, things change with time. The Nigerian Army population, not only the Army, the armed forces, let me use that term. The armed forces population is increasing. So will there be necessity for improved administration and for more divisions in order to have an effective unit. I would say that it is to the kudos of the present government that they are bold enough. Yeah, I would say that I use the word bold enough to want to effect this change. Because, and I also want to talk about the fact that the reformation with the military started with the present Minister of Defense. I'm a big fan of his, despite what many people seems to turn his appointment to political. He was a professional man to the core. That is why everybody loved him at onset. But in Nigeria, once you get into public service, people write you down as if you have the magic wand and that it must be done immediately. No. Nigeria, even no country in the world is capable of achieving that feat. Immediate or what we call alacrity in the army. You understand? Now, this is a professional man to the core. He understands the military. He joined the military since he was a teenager. And he rose to become a general a chief of defense. So you know the system. But here you will see a lot of people who don't even have an idea of what it is like to be a soldier, trying to tell the tired people like that, I'm coming, that's where I'm going, that they know better about how to administer the military. This is the problem of Nigerians. We don't always understand what we are arguing about. We just assume we do.
Maybe they're coming from a place of distrust or something like that.
Hey, well, life itself is about distrust. You just have to have faith. Even in the religious sphere, you have to have faith. So what is wrong with having faith in people you give responsibilities? Otherwise, you end up discouraging people who want to excel. Innovators all over the world look like idiots or madmen. If people do have faith in them, we won't have all the good things we're having in life today. This is one of the problems I have with Nigerians. We are quick to condemn, and it's unfortunate. Give things to, there must be a gestation period, give things to materialize. So where I'm going is this. We are seeing the difference in armed forces administration now. We saw the increase in salary from 48 to 100. We saw from 100 now to 180 for the lowest paid. And mind you, these are been for almost 30, 40 years for immigration. So that's why I said, at least let's give honor to whom it is due. So many administrations have passed, they didn't even do anything about it. You understand? Yeah. So those who now have the guts and the temerity to do it, we should not say condemn their activity.
All right, so we're going to talk about, the increase in number of military men that we have now, but that would be right after this commercial break.
Excuse me, it's 100% human hair.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Didn't your landlord just increase rent?
I saved for this one separately on money points.
No, you say you save on money points. Yes. This madam money points here, the array of hair dryer there is charges savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fees savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact, son.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
What's up? Why did German don't contribute to the budget? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Adaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You don't go open a savings account. Now Adaku you shoot. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and get the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Adaku, wow, open money points account.
Money Point, made for your progress.
All right, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We're still on the conversation. Tinubu's 80% salary increment for our armed forces. And yes, indeed, Dr. Adekunle Onile and Ignomis is right here having the conversation. We saw the recruitment of about 28,000, soldiers right there. And why that is good, is it enough? Because we have cried over time that we need a lot of military men to be in here. As a matter of fact, people have said our security personnel is not enough to combat what we have with us.
You know, at the onset, I said it's a ongoing process. If they have prepared that much now, kudos to them. At least they are doing something. Remember, these were things cost. Remember, there are competing needs from government. Remember that even recruitment is not that easy. There's a particular region of Nigeria that don't even want their people to join the army, Nigerian army. Yeah, remember that. And remember that there's a constitution of Nigeria that gives provision for federal character. Meaning that if a particular cannot even overload the quotas, there are some of the things behind the scene that people don't really know about. What I'm trying to say is that if government want to recruit more than 20,000, and a particular region is not meeting up with quota, they have to wait.
How do we push up a process that now gets people from that region that you are, talking about to be more involved? Because trust me, if we want this nation to have the national security that we all clamor for, we need all hands on deck. So how do we push to solve this conundrum?
That is where orientation matters. And I put that at the doorsteps of the leaders, political leaders from that area, from that region.
Also,
Good. The narrative in the open now is that some people believe Nigeria is a zoo in their own word. And for that, they are only having a lackluster attitude towards anything in Nigeria. And this is serious because they are even doing it in a very open way. What if they have pretended, joined the army, and then they sabotage it? These are part of security issues. Somebody is going to fight for a country, must be patriotic, must be willing to die for that country.
but it's hard to be patriotic with some of the comments. I mean, sometimes on a regular day, you come across some comments on social media. Even something that, sometimes you're talking about something different, and then one person just comes off and then starts attacking someone from a different tribe or starts generalizing and saying people.
That's normal in Nigeria.
Is it normal?
What I say is normal is that is how Nigeria was built. You understand? It will take maybe the next generation to correct that.
But the next generation are also failing at it. The ones coming behind.
Where?
They're so loud about it on social media, especially.
Yeah, they might be learning it, but they will be much more sensible, more educated, more enlightened. You understand? The reality of life, the better communication, because there is poor communication among most Nigerians, will not make the next generation to reason along that way. You understand? The political leaders fed fat on that. They used that division, that tribal sentiment to break a lot of things. There are so many young, able men from that particular region who are interested in joining the army. They really want to. They want to make a career in it. But unfortunately, their area will discourage them.
We surely have a few of them.
We said?
We surely have a few of them.
That is few. That is not their quota. That's why I'm going. That security matters entails everybody feeling that they belong. Not a minority in the armed forces. Because when it comes to service chief appointment later now, such area will be complaining. We don't have our own heading the army. How do you get to the top if you don't start from the beginning? You understand what I'm trying to say now? Okay. There are a lot of things wrong with Nigeria Foundation, which, unless that systemic wrong is corrected, and we keep on looking at the result of, we'll just be rigmarolling and thinking we are discussing logically. When I was discussing logical, because so our security system and architecture in Nigeria, that's why I said, I give it to this present government that at least they are doing something about it. You understand? They know there's a problem, they are addressing it,